Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. And subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And you know you want to give us that 5-star review because it's about time.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA, so head on over to abcboxing.com, read the criteria.
Dan, it was a little touch and go that we were going to have this show after the...
Not on my end.
No, absolutely. It was not on your end. It was 100% on my end. I was done with you. Wanted to wash my hands of you. Why? For such a petty reason is because, well, your team beat my team in football, so that's kind of all it needs to be.
Giants are back. Super Bowl is still on.
Yeah, I still feel like if we don't fumble those stupid opening kickoff for starters, and then another one in our own territory in the first quarter, then I feel like we have a much better chance.
I mean, we drew it up that way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss having Andre Roberts supposed to be our normal kickoff guy, and he's been out.
Injured?
He's out now. Yeah, he's out for a little while. So Chuba Hubbard let me down. I was not happy about that one.
All right,
very unfortunate. But yeah, we're here. The show did not implode. Cooler heads prevailed. And yeah.
Probably because it was a 1:00 game.
Yeah,
you had a lot of time to cool
I had
off.
a lot more time to cool off. You know, I'm feeling better now. So yeah, we can do it. We've weathered the storm.
Also, for you lucky West Coasters, 1:00 is the first set of games for us.
Yeah. Well, they know they know what it is. They wake up and it's like, oh hey, it's I'm gonna have my breakfast and then I'll watch some football. It's like, well, that's nice. That's kind of nice.
At 7 p.m. it's all over.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah.
And then what do? I guess you just have the rest of your night ahead of you to...
Yeah, you just do whatever you want.
Yeah. Oh, it's very strange. I'll never understand it. I mean, I do, but, you know, it's weird.
Yeah.
Never lived that lifestyle. I've been to California a couple times.
Mm.
Been a while. Like, 12 years now, since I've been in California. It's been a while. No, we're not going to do that. So let's get into this, sir. And actually, before we even get into the fights like we normally do, man, we got to acknowledge the big news that came our way Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And that is that Jose Aldo apparently has decided to retire from this sport. Now, as, you know, someone like Sean Sheehan might say, looking forward to the next one. But I'm going to take the man at his word for now and absolutely acknowledge that, yeah, maybe this is the end. This is the last time we've seen Jose Aldo in mixed martial arts competition, perhaps. Maybe there's doors open for other things. Who knows? But yeah, it's kind of wild to think about because, especially for me, when I started watching, like, I just remember he was this like new young thing at 145 pounds when I was watching WBC, and now he's not only is he kind of like the old gun, but now he's really hanging him up after a good long career.
Yeah.
So yeah, it almost makes you contemplate your own mortality, I guess. In a way.
Yeah, I guess he probably wanted one last run at the title. He gave a very valiant effort and came up a tad bit short and said, you know what, it's time.
I'm not surprised. So, I'm not honestly surprised that this happened. Like, when I saw it, it was like, oh, it was unfortunate. But it's like, you know what? I get it, because I think what it was is that he didn't want to be someone who just stuck around. Like, he thought he had another chance at a championship. Mm-hmm. That's why he was still in it. And up until that point, there was no reason to walk away. But if he's not going to, and I think it was probably pretty clear that, yes, his pathway to a championship had just about closed with that loss to Merab Dvalishvili. So I'm not surprised at all that he's like, you know what, I'm just gonna head in the other way. I'm gonna do something else now. So good on him.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. What's what when you think back on Jose Aldo? Because I feel like you haven't always loved Jose Aldo.
Me and him have a love-hate relationship a bit.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pulling out fights.
Is that what he hates about you too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one that got me was him getting injured on like a Vespa, like riding barefoot or something. I think it was a foot injury.
Well, but Is this really, is that the thing that like you think of most from his time? When you think of Jose Aldo, like let's say in a couple years, he's had a little time away from him. He hasn't come back. Maybe we're not even hearing his name very often anymore.
Yeah.
Someone says Jose Aldo. What are you thinking of?
I think of Uriah Faber's leg the next day when you showed the picture of it.
Yeah.
Just completely purple.
That was brutal. That was brutal.
The knee to Chad Mendez's head.
Yep. Indelible image there.
Crazy. The knot he put on
Mark
Hominick's head. I remember that one. A lot of damage is
a lot of grotesqueries there. Yeah.
That's really what I think of. Leg kicks, of course. The lack of leg kicks later on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah, marvelous career.
I think of, for me, it's really just the fact that this was someone who was a dominant champion for just such a long time. It's really hard to be on top for so long. And was he the most active champion throughout? Not necessarily, but still turned away all comers whenever they were able to get it together and get in the cage and everything like that. He was the champion from, I believe it was 2010 when he became the WEC champ. And then until he lost to Conor McGregor at the end of 2015, right?
Yeah.
That's a 5-year reign. You
just
don't see a lot of that.
2009, he beat Mike Brown.
It was 2009?
Yeah.
There you go. So it was actually 6 years. 6-year reign. Think about it. Like we looked at the reign of Kamaru Usman as dominant, right? An impressive run, and it absolutely was. And his championship reign lasted about 3.5 years, which still really fantastic, but almost double that. That's what Jose Aldo was able to do. And I still feel, and he was also able to become the champion again because, of course, the man who beat him decided, I don't want to fight you again. I'm going to move up. So that was what happened, and he was able to reign over the division yet again. I mean, I'll remember his dominance for over a length of period of time, and I think that's what makes it so impressive to me.
Yeah, he was the guy. He might be one of the reasons we have the lighter weight classes in the UFC.
I think he's definitely a good reason for it being there. I mean, Uriah Faber was the star that brought everything over. Like, he wasn't the best anymore at that either weight class because he moved down to 35 at this point. But he wasn't the best, but he was the face of it. But then you had, credible champions like Jose Aldo, and then they had that fight between the two of them, which I think only lent even more credibility to Jose with like more casual fans. It's funny because Uriah, like, he actually was like a reasonably well-known name. Like, there's a lot of I was talking to Cory Sandhagen last week of head of the fight, and he said that his first experience watching mixed martial arts, because he'd already practiced martial arts, right? But he'd never really sat down and I guess watched it until he was watching WEC. He would watch that at night. So it was guys like Faber, like people knew Faber's name, right? And then Aldo comes along and he beats Faber, and it just makes it a lot more credible, I guess, for everybody else, right? So, yeah, I think he was just such an important figure for those lighter weights, like you're saying. And he was the first dominant lighter weight champion, and I think that actually includes 155 because, BJ Penn, is as amazing as he was, his reign just didn't last as long at that particular weight class because he bounced around so much, right? I know it's hard for you to say that, but like
BJ Penn has the absolute best lightweight run there is, and it's
lightweight, yeah, absolutely.
And so I can't compare it right now.
All right, that's fair. I understand.
There's no compare. BJ's lightweight run is the best run at 155,
but it's only a couple fights, is what I'm saying.
4 fights.
All right, it's a good amount of fights, but we're talking about how many fights from Jose Aldo is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Anyway, we should move forward though. I brought up Cory Sandhagen, of course. Let me try that again. I brought up Cory Sandhagen, of course. I don't know what came out of me the first time, but obviously he looked pretty damn good in there on Saturday night, especially from the point that he opened up that giant gash on Song Yadong.
Yeah, that was a turning point of the fight.
Clearly. So. I mean, it ended up being the reason why the fight ended, as we all know. But good win for him. I know it's not the way he definitely wanted. You could tell, like, when it was waved off, he was like, oh, no. You could see it in his face, like he wanted to keep going. But, I mean, it's just like DC pointed out in the cage, like, it ended because of what he did. It wasn't. There was nothing BS about it. He caused a monstrous cut. He was very willing to try and open that cut up a little more. He's rubbing his head in it and everything like that. Like, this is a natural, a natural extension of what was happening there. So it went the way ostensibly he was trying to make it go, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what is next for this guy? What is next for Cory Sandhagen? He already lost to Peter Yan, but the current champion also beat him too. But there's some other guys out there. It's kind of a very chock full of talent. 135 right now, but
35
if he can knock off some of these guys, maybe he gets there. Like, what do you want next?
So
for him?
I don't know exactly what I want next, but I could see them. Maybe you go Chito Vera, you go maybe Mirab. Yeah,
those are the names I think he wants.
Peter Yan's already booked against O'Malley. Dillashaw's fighting for the belt with Aljo, so one of those two probably.
Mirab or Chito, yeah.
In a perfect world, we do a round robin, but we don't fight that often.
Yeah, I could see. I think I could see Chito Vera being next for him. Honestly, that's almost the one that makes the most sense.
It's probably the most fun of the two.
Although if they do end up going to Chito next, let's say that Aljamain Sterling wins, right?
Yeah.
Let's say he retains his belt against TJ Dillashaw. He's not going to fight Mirab, so Mirab's out of there, right? Mirab's going to need an opponent.
Right.
So then it really comes down to, it's probably Chito's turn. So then, I think it would make more sense to go to Merab Dvalishvili. But if it goes the other way, I mean, a lot of things change. So
2 months away, or a month away.
Yeah, month away.
Wow. All right.
And that was in Abu Dhabi. I haven't looked. I got to double check it, but I think that one, because they tend to do Abu Dhabi on local time over there, that might end up being an afternoon over in the United States card.
We like that.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. Because then I can do everything I need to do for work, and I can write my column during the daytime instead of 3 a.m. And it just makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Physically.
Yep.
And I like that. Yeah. I like to feel good. But yeah, so I think Sandhagen, Chito would probably be, like you said, I think I echo what you say. That would be the more fun.
Yeah.
But actually, as I've talked it out with you, I think probably Merab makes more sense as what could happen, as long as, things happen, right? We kind of have to wait for things to shake out, so.
Yeah, we really got to see how it goes.
I do hope we get to see him again this year. He was saying maybe a Christmas present in December, right? So hopefully a December fight. That'd be fun.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. What about Song? I don't think he looked bad in this fight whatsoever.
No. I know.
He was on the cards. He was right in the fight. If it went to a fifth round, if they were allowed to do a fifth round, but if they were allowed to do that fifth round, then that fight would. Whoever won the fifth round would have won. It would have probably been a split decision if it went Song's way. But and we'll get to why in a little bit. But realistically, from Song, he's so young. He's going to be 25 later this year, and he's been fighting a long time already in the UFC. But he's still a young guy. Do you see championship level upside from him? Because we're talking about a bunch of people that are already in the mix for the championship. It's very crowded up there. This is a setback, but not a giant one. And he's still, like I said, very young. Do you think he can kind of crash the party and get to maybe at least get to a championship shot?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
he's good, and he's like you said, he's so young. So,
and he's at a solid camp. Team Alpha Male. Like they have they always had success? Not necessarily, but I think there's a lot of talent around there that tends to flock there. Team Alpha. It's not Team Alpha Fighter now. It's Team Alpha Fighter. I think, right? They changed the name.
No idea.
I think they changed it. It's not Alpha Male anymore because they also have female fighters there. So I think that was the thinking there. I think they changed it. We'll have to check that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's definitely got championship level upside. I think he can improve a lot as he continues to grow and become. He's not even in his athletic prime. Like, not remotely
here's the
close.
thing: these guys ahead of him are kind of much older, but not much older. If you get what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like, so he's so young, and he's like the people ahead of him may be gone when he's ready to start taking over.
Yeah, maybe
so
not.
It's possible.
I think Peter Yan is only 29.
He's
a lot younger than you
think. He might be gone.
You think he'll be gone?
He might be gone.
Yan will be gone.
Yan will be gone.
As this little bottle rattles next to you. Good job hitting that bottle there, making noises. But yeah, and the other thing with him too, and I think this is also going to help his potential chances of getting the title shot if he's in the mix, is they're very anxious to put fighters in different markets that they can sell into these shots. It's obvious they've done this before. They did it with Cyril Gane.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted that French market, so Song Yadong being a Chinese fighter, you could see them certainly being okay putting him in the championship shot. Not necessarily unearned, but if it comes down to it, they're going to be more than okay putting someone like him in there. It's just the way the UFC tends to operate. But I think he would deserve it anyway. I think he absolutely has that level of talent in him. Maybe even to be the champ. Who knows? We'll see. Potentially the first male Chinese champion.
Yeah.
So, but a fight like this, I don't think it's a big setback.
I don't really think it's a setback at all.
No, I mean, obviously you got a giant cut there. That wasn't fun, but
Yeah.
what are you gonna do? And speaking of those cuts, actually, because that was the second of the giant grotesque cuts that we had. It wasn't even the worst of it, because the one before it in Gregory Rodriguez win over Chidi Njokuani, that was intense.
A little gross.
Yeah, because the one over
vein exposed.
Yeah, it was nasty. You saw the pictures, right? The photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was grotesque. I think what was it? Twitter was starting to take people's photos down because
really?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I saw some people getting the warnings and everything like that. Too funny. But yeah, the fascinating thing about that was that obviously Rodriguez cut was between his eyes, right? It was it was almost like a unibrow cut.
Yeah.
It was a very strange place for a cut, but it was so separate. It was just a nasty cut from that knee. Very early knee he ate from Chidi Njokuani. And the funny thing too about that fight is I felt like it started slow. Like the first 30 to 45 seconds was I don't want to say painfully slow because it's only 45 seconds, right? But almost nothing happens. And then all of a sudden that knee lands and they just wake up. It was just oh, this is the bell now. Now we're in. Yeah, so that was wild. It was such a fun fight from then on. That was a crazy knee, and of course they almost stopped it. The doctor comes in, he looks at it, and he tells I forget which referee was in. I think it was Mark Smith. Mark Smith was on this one. Yeah, thank you. Mark Smith, keep an eye on it. You could see Mark's throughout the round, he's kind of looking at him. He's scrutinize it. It's how's that cut? How's that cut? In a way, right?
If he doesn't stop him, I don't know if it makes it.
And I'll be honest, I'm sitting there between rounds and I'm even saying you got to stop this. This is a really bad cut. I thought this was a really terrible cut.
I think the doctor said not much of a leash here.
Yeah. I
think that was something.
I'm honestly surprised they let it go. And my wife happened to be in the room when
New
we
York
were just
wouldn't have
talking
let it
at the
go.
time. No, they definitely wouldn't have. And I look, if I was the doctor in that situation, I probably would have said, no, we're going to wave this off.
And you know what? It gets really bad as he's in that finishing sequence. It just starts leaking.
It does. It does.
It's no, if he doesn't get it here, I don't know what's going to happen.
Because it's in the vicinity of the eyes, and there's a lot of damage that can be done around that area. Obviously the nerve is exposed. That's a dangerous thing, right? You don't want nerve damage.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of stuff you've got to really avoid.
There was a tweet by some doctor who explained what we're actually looking at.
Right.
And he said that's a certain kind of vein on the right side, and it's a very good thing that didn't rupture because it would have been a lot of blood.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like it was almost obviously he was able to win and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of maintain that it was kind of almost the wrong call to let it go. I think they gave too much of a leash to both of these cuts that we're talking about. Because the other one, of course, was over Song Yadong's eye. And Song, he's fighting through it. It occurs in the second round, right?
Yes.
With that up elbow from Cory Sandhagen, and when they were standing, and it was that was a weird angle that we had at the TV. You couldn't really see how well it landed when you're watching on TV. But I'll bet you some of the judges' cage side probably had a much better view of how terrible that landed, right? Except for maybe one who had a horrible view.
I thought it was an up elbow that hit him.
That's what I'm saying. Did I not say that?
I thought you said knee.
Oh, did I? Okay. I meant elbow. Sure. I apologize if I said that.
Okay.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I definitely meant elbow, but
you might have said elbow.
It's tomato.
Yeah.
Elbow tomato.
Yeah.
But that fight got to go on, through round 2 into round 3, round 3 into round 4, and then it was finally stopped before round 5. I really thought, especially before round 4, that they really should have just stopped it then.
Who's the video game character that has a red streak across his face diagonally?
Are you talking about Kratos?
Possibly.
From God of War?
Possibly. I'm not sure if it's him though. But there's it's like a diagonal across his face of just red.
It might be who you mean.
That's what happened. Out of nowhere, he was just standing there, and then all of a sudden, he just got this streak of red across his face in a diagonal direction.
But the blood is it's very heavily leaking around the eye, right? And the same thing, the same doctor is giving that kind of hey, keep an eye on it, really keep an eye on it. But man, if I'm that doctor, I'm stopping each one probably a round before they would have, right? Because I think there's a decent chance that fight would have ended up being stopped Well, maybe not.
Yeah.
We've seen the leashes that these guys get with this doctor. I'm okay. I don't want them to be too trigger happy. Or like New York is, that's the good example of like, hey, maybe that's maybe a little too trigger happy, right?
My orthopedic is actually the New Jersey. He works with the New Jersey Athletic Commission as ringside physician.
Interesting.
He trained with us, Dr. Robin.
Oh, he was there?
Not there. No, he wasn't there, but he works with New Jersey. He worked at Ring of Combat, not recently. I have to see him this week for my shoulder. I'm going to ask him if he saw the fights and what he would have done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting. You can report back for our next edition. Yeah. Let us know what he says.
Mm.
Yeah, I didn't love the way necessarily he was saying. I thought there was a little too like letting it go too long because Song was saying like he couldn't really see very well, right?
Mm-hmm. So if you can't see, you can't fight. So.
And what happened in those last 2 rounds when he couldn't see as well? He wasn't winning. Well, he lost both those rounds. Maybe, I mean, granted, he was, if you take the fight away from him, he can't win anyway. But I didn't love it. I would really like to have seen, especially Rodriguez's fight, even though he did end up winning. And all credit to him, I didn't think he was incapable of fighting. It was more just I was worried about that cut, right?
Yeah.
And then Song, especially that one, the fact that they ended up stopping for the cut anyway, and honestly it just kept getting worse and worse. Like that really did just get worse. So I wish it had been stopped after round 3.
Okay.
That's when I was okay with it between round 2 and 3, right? I'm not a doctor, I get that, but I feel like it could have been done a round sooner.
Okay.
Maybe avoided a little bit of extra damage to it.
Mm.
That's where I'm at. I don't know if you think I'm crazy or what.
No, I just think you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Maybe I did. But what I didn't do at a Holiday Express last night is I did not watch the Canelo Triple G fight.
Okay. Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I heard a lot of people believing that this was an extremely one-sided fight. Canelo winning probably 9 or more rounds, and then it ended up being like, very close unanimous decision for Canelo over Triple G.
Okay.
Of course, boxing judging just gets thrown to the wolves at that point. I didn't watch it. I can't speak authoritatively, and I don't know enough about boxing judging to go crazy on it. And I know well that, hey, maybe there's a lot of things that people just don't realize about judging. So I assume that there's some of that in boxing as well.
Mm.
But at the same time, like, how can so many people think that a fight, and this happens like constantly, like, what are we watching? Like, I don't know. Either way, I'm not surprised in the result because I really thought that Triple G probably should have had this fight a few years ago if he was going to do it. But there was a clear avoidance of the fight from Canelo's side, right? And I think
I don't know.
You don't even care about this, huh?
To be honest, I don't think I've seen any of the 3 fights.
You didn't?
So...
Oh, you're crazy, man. The first one was really good. The second one was solid too.
No,
you should have watched those. You don't care about boxing at all. Huh?
Mike Tyson left, and I left with it.
All right, fair enough.
I mean, I've seen a couple Floyd fights that just doesn't really.
Well, those aren't the fights to watch. If you only care about like Mike Tyson style fights, then watching Floyd Mayweather was a bad decision.
Well, I liked the Floyd personality originally.
Sure.
Originally, I mean, kind of deteriorated, but
all right.
After he sucker, well, I guess it's not a sucker punch. You gotta protect yourself at all times. I don't remember who it was. That was probably the last one I might have watched.
Protect yourself at all times, sir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But let's move on though to not boxing. We'll move on to contested rounds in the octagon.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got 2 split decisions here, so I think we're going to lead with probably the more contentious of the 2, even though I think the right guy won, and I don't think anyone disagreed, but I think there was a lot of surprise, especially from Andre Feely here. He was not pleased with the fact that it was even a split decision.
He was a little upset.
He was. So Feely got the win over Bill Algeo. It was 29-28 all around, and it came down to round 3. So, yeah, I mean, you were going to say something before.
I was going to say, I want to give him the credit that he said, well, this is lack of a better word, or lack of better able to express myself when he said what he said.
Which was
Judge Chris Lee.
Yeah, which was
he shouldn't be judging.
Right. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, we certainly don't want to go there. That's not something that we feel appropriate in saying ourselves. But yeah, what's happening in round 3? Why are we talking about this fight in particular as this thing? Right?
Interesting round, kind of. Feely lands some good punches. He's snapping Algeo's head around. A couple good body shots, kicks especially. Algeo's landing some of his own, but Feely gets a takedown, attacks a nice arm triangle.
Pretty early, too.
Yep. Transitions to the back, has the body triangle locked in. Really tight rear naked choke attempt here. Algeo's able to fight off the first attempt, but, Feely locks it up again, and it's really tight. It's like, I think this is going to end right here. Somehow Algeo escapes, but still, on the back, body triangle locked in, and Algeo starts throwing some punches.
Punches, huh?
Just throwing some punches. He's landing them all. Definitely not going to finish a fight. I guess decent enough, I suppose. I mean, I don't think they were effective. I think they were more annoying than anything. No damage. I don't like the score for Algeo here. This is a 10-9 Feely for me.
I don't feel very good about this one either. This one feels kind of harder to defend, and I'm sure there's someone who could come up with a reason why, okay, this makes some sense, right? But here's based on my understanding, and I feel like you and I are kind of like mind here, right? Is that we're looking for, immediate impact. What is the most immediately impactful moments of this fight? It's definitely those the submission attempts, especially the choke, the rear naked, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an extremely high spot. And when you're looking at the punches that are being landed on the ground from Algeo, who's punching from behind, he does not have any hips into it because his body is under control, right? He's got the body triangle.
It's just an arm punch.
It's just arm punches. Like, you're not going to knock him out, especially in round 3. Like, this is the end of the fight. Like, you're not doing anything more than that. You're not cutting him open. It's not leaving like drastic physical damage on Andre Feely here.
There's no reaction to him either. It's like, oh, he just punched me in the head.
I mean, he's landed a lot of them. I grant that, but like, this is that more or less adds up to just trying to score points, like point fighting in a sense. It's really just trying to like accumulate enough that it's like, well, he's done something we have to pay attention to.
I mean, he would have lost the position if these had any true effect on him. He would have moved his head out of the way if these were anything other than just a simple annoyance.
Yeah, I definitely. I can understand Andre Feely's frustrations here, and look, he can feel any way he wants to, right? If he wants to, it's not. I don't agree with the idea of saying people shouldn't be judging anymore because these men and women who judge are more than one round, right? But yeah, I mean, I don't think this is a good round from Chris Lee. I don't think this is a good round score from him.
So Scott,
unfortunately.
After I watched this round, I was watching football today. I was reclined fully back in my chair.
Yeah, all right.
And I was like, well, I'm in a similar position. Let me punch
yourself in the head,
the back cushion.
Oh, okay.
And see how much power I can generate.
This is the most scientific thing I've ever heard. Go on.
And I was like, I'm not really generating much. It probably really would just annoy the guy behind me.
Bill Algeo probably can punch better than you.
He might be able to, but
I also can punch a lot better than you, sir.
Here's the thing. I also got 90 pounds on the guy. So I'm not going to say he hits that much harder than me.
I bet he hits a lot harder than you.
I'm just going to say, from that with no hips, it's just his arm. I was trying to get everything into it, and I couldn't get nothing on there.
Well, sir, I don't think anyone's debating how little zip that anyone could get on it. That's true.
But it's also there's like 1 minute of that. There's 4 minutes of Feely winning that round.
Yeah, there's a good amount of that round that I feel like belonged to Andre Feely, and this is not a very defensible score in my opinion. But if there's a judge out there who wants to correct me and maybe provide an alternate explanation that helps me understand why this makes sense as an Algeo round, I mean, I'm open to it. But as it stands, yeah, it's a good thing only one judge felt that way, right? This is why we have 3 judges. When we have these split decisions that look a little funky, we always have to remember, hey, we actually got 2 that got it right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing. But yeah, this is definitely one of the, I would say among the let's say the traveling judges, the top judges who tend to work most of the UFC events. This is definitely one of the scores that I find the least defensible of the year.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah. But then, of course, you throw in maybe some little Texas action, and then it's a little different, right? Once we throw in Texas, all bets are off. So, but yeah, that not great, not good at all, to be perfectly honest, is my opinion. But the right guy won. Let's move on though to the other split decision, because there's actually 2 rounds from this one, sir, and that was in the heavyweight fight. Rodrigo Nascimento got the win over Tanner Boser, 30-27, 29-28, and then 29-28 for Boser. So rounds 1 and 2, obviously very pivotal rounds here. What is happening in round 1? We'll start, of course, with round 1.
Yeah, he starts the round very good, Boser, that is. Lands a couple solid shots to the head. Nascimento goes for a takedown pretty early. And almost nothing outside of just stay busy strikes.
From guard, right? He's in the guard.
Chill out in guard. He had half guard for a minute, like working for like a Kimura or possible pass, but he never actually did. Got put back in guard and just chilled out there for a while. No no attempts to pass once he's back in guard. No heavy ground and pound. Bowser gets back up. Bowser.
Bowser's Mario's nemesis.
Sorry. Bowser gets back up, lands a couple more punches and leg kicks. Then Nascimento lands a big right hand, wobbles Bowser a bit.
It was a good punch.
I don't think this is enough to overtake what Bowser's done. This is the best punch of the round for sure. But Bowser ends the round landing another good shot to the head. I'm on Bowser here, and it's not because his corner was playing to the judges, trying to convince them of that.
Yeah, I honestly thought this was a pretty reasonably close round because you can see where it could go the other way, right? You can see. I totally see why this one is split. I understand this one, but I'm with you. I saw it for Bowser. I think, the overall cumulative damage, right, of what he's doing, of what Bowser's doing, it just gets a little past what we have from Nascimento, because it is basically just for Nascimento. It's really that punch, and then I don't grade the other stuff as heavily as I think what we were getting from the heavier strikes that were being landed from Bowser.
Right.
And I think Bowser really, it kind of takes until all the way till near the very end of the round for him to really take it back for me.
After that shot, yeah, for sure.
Because I think I was leaning to Nascimento until near the very end, but then I ended up flipping.
I mean, you got Mark Smith saying, "Hey, I need something here."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Nascimento wasn't doing anything really.
Yeah. So yeah, we're both on the Bowser train here. Same as Judge Doug Crosby, who was on his own for this one, as opposed to Adelaide Bird and Junichiro Kamijo saw it for Nascimento. What does that mean for Judge Douglas Crosby?
Couchside override.
Take your win, Doug. It's in the mail. Round 2. Now we're at a little different round, right?
Yeah, well, it's still an interesting round. On the feet, it's a pretty even early. Probably leaning Nascimento, but then Bowser clips him and has him hurt, and after that, Nascimento wasn't walking through Bowser's punches anymore. And in the beginning of
he was pretty stalled for a little bit.
So in the beginning of the round, when Bowser would land, Nascimento, it wouldn't stop him at all. He just returned fire. Every time after this, after this shot that he had him hurt, every land, Nascimento's taking a step back, not really returning.
This is about midway through the round.
Having to reset. I think it's definitely Bowser's round to this point, but then Nascimento gets a takedown, locks in a one-hook rear naked choke. I don't think the choke's all that great. Not enough to outweigh the striking anyway.
Bowser's doing a lot of thumbs up. He's not doing as much defending as he is doing thumbs up, though.
I know.
Which is not great.
Yeah, I think Agapova learned that earlier.
Yeah, I know, right?
Great defense there. From here, Nascimento's unable to pass or do anything of any substance or anything effective. I think it's 10-9 Bowser.
Yeah, I also went for Bowser here. I think, you gotta give the power to when he was able to kind of stop him in his tracks for a little bit and force Nascimento to kind of reset. You could tell just how, I don't know how badly hurt he was, but it was enough to kind of rattle him, right?
Yeah,
throw him off and totally stop the offense for just a little while. And I think that was the most, that was the highest point of the round.
Mm-hmm.
It's close enough that I can see why this was split and why Judge Kamijo saw it for Nascimento, but I saw it for Bowser just like you did, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying you can see the total turning of this round because Nascimento's walking through punches, and after he gets hurt, every punch after that, he's taking a step back as well.
Sure.
So it's.
I think probably Bowser is the better score. That's how I feel. It's the better score, but that I can understand the defense that might come from a Nascimento.
I mean, if you thought that rear naked choke was good, So
that and again, I think there was some decent success that Nascimento had early. I think there was probably want to say the first minute ish. I think Nascimento's actually winning.
I had Nascimento winning the striking until he gets clipped.
Exactly. So, that's what I mean. I think there's reasons that you could say, okay, maybe it makes some sense, but I feel better with Bowser here. And again, it was judges Crosby and Bird who saw it that way. So both you and I saw the fight exactly the same as Doug Crosby as a Bowser victory, but didn't go that way. Understandably, it happens. Unfortunately, Tanner Bowser's been in some of these fights before. He's kind of been in some of these close heavyweight fights that just don't go, and that's tough too because we're not seeing heavyweight fights that are just like, not enough action going on. This one in particular, there was enough action, right? It just ended up being close. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
It's just the way it was. Tough break, but didn't go his way. Let's go back to Sandhagen and Song, though, because there was that round that was split, like we mentioned, right?
Right.
Round 2 of this fight, and again, so it's round 1 went to Song, rounds 3 and 4 went to Sandhagen. So round 2 is the round where we had that elbow we discussed. What else is happening in round 2, and why are we talking about this as a split?
Song's landed some heavy shots to the head. He's throwing all his power, seems like, to be honest. Sandhagen gets rocked a bit, gets backed all the way against the fence, a little bit on ice skates for a second. I think Song seems to be decently ahead at this point. Sandhagen, of course, he's returning fire. I just don't think he's as effective. He keeps trying that jumping knee. Song sees it coming a mile away. But then, as we know, he lands that nice up elbow, slices the eyebrow of Song, and it's a nasty cut.
And it's leaking.
It's very bloody. And this seemed to shut Song down for a while. And then I think that final 45 seconds, maybe a minute, Song starts to find his offense a bit again. And this is where I think he took it. It's close. I'm on Song, though, 10-9.
Before I say where I go, would you say that this round, the way you score it, almost like surely has to come down to how you scored the damage off of that elbow?
Maybe. I mean, it's huge damage.
I feel like it really just comes down to how much, maybe this is just the way it came down for me, right? It came down to how well you graded the damage from that elbow compared to everything else in the round, right? Because it's not solely that, right? It can't solely be that one thing. But I did go for Sandhagen here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, I think the immediate impact of that elbow was just to such a high degree and not only I don't want to do hindsight being 2020, right? Like we know it that this really was the turn. If you know, like Dan, if you could go back and account for what happened, like you would most definitely give this to Sandhagen, right? You'd have to, because it's the strike that ended up ending the fight, basically.
Well,
hindsight being 20, we don't score it this way, but just
the way it plays out is Song smiles at him. He's still with it in his head. I weighed the strike.
Yeah, but the smiling is usually like, you got me.
You got me. But my point is he wasn't rocked. He didn't lose motor skills, I guess.
Sure.
The way Sandhagen was a little shaky on his legs after he got hit. Those are the strikes I find more close to finishing than I find one that cuts somebody.
But I fundamentally disagree with you on there, to be honest. And the reason being, it really comes down to when you're trying to score those rounds and these and the impact and the damage and that kind of thing is fight ending damage, right? This is inarguably fight ending damage as we see it play out, right? The placement of
eventually
this cut, yes, but the placement of this cut is over the eye, and that anything like that I feel like has to be graded more immediately and immediate impact and high impact.
A guy that can't defend himself because he's hurt compared to someone that gets cut, but they're still fighting.
I didn't necessarily think that Sandhagen was drastically. I know he was backed up. I get that, right? But like, he seemed very in it still.
He was wobbled. His equilibrium's off, and that I favor that.
But there wasn't really the ability to follow up from there, right? Like you didn't see him under duress from that point.
He recovered quick.
Yeah, and that's fine.
So
no, I think I believe that cut needs to be weighed just as heavily as
cuts
kind
are
of
weighed heavy. It was weighed heavy. It's a close round. But
I understand why you'd go that way. I'm not necessarily telling you you're wrong. I'm not trying to go there. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm saying is I think you have to weigh that cut more heavily. And not you specifically, but like in general, I think you have to weigh that cut quite heavily because of the way it affects the fighter. It limits the fighter. It's over his eye. It's not even just like a cut. It's bleeding all over. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big moment of a fight. But it's just at that moment it's just a cut. It's going to open up more the more it gets hit.
It was pretty open already, dude.
And
within that 5-minute period,
he shuts down, but then he regains it. And like I said, that final minute, 45 seconds, Song starts his offense again, and that's where he takes it from me.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, we agreed. We're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one, but that's where I stand. That's where you stand. That's okay. I saw it the same way as Chris Lee. Who, granted, we already said we didn't love a Chris Lee score. I'm with him on this one. I think he nailed this one. I think that's fantastic from Chris Lee. So, not again. I can understand what you're saying, and that's probably what judges Saldamato and Derek Cleary are saying. You're in the majority here, right? So I get it. But yeah, I don't know. I would love to hear from a judge, especially on this one. This is one that I definitely want. If anyone would be willing to reach out and kind of give me, point my compass in a direction on how judges really ought to be looking at this particular round. I think this is an interesting round.
What I also like the elbow, the second elbow.
Not the one
from
that causes
Sandhagen.
the cut.
Not the one that caused the cut. The second one against the fence right before they break the clinch.
Okay.
That's like a brain rattler.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's a solid strike there.
Sure. No, and one of
So-
them most definitely does more to, let's say, the brain and the motor function like you're
Mhm.
talking about, and the other one does more to, honestly, like it literally does end the fight. That strike is what ends the fight. It just took 2 rounds. So yeah.
it's cumulative
Well,
and not immediate.
later it's
in that
cumulative.
way.
But no, later it's cumulative. in the moment it happens, it's immediate. I saw immediate. If it doesn't bleed the way it does later in that round, I probably don't even go that way. But I think just the nature of the way it was bleeding all over his eye, it's like, oh, you could tell this is a bad one. It's actually gonna like start limiting his vision and that kind of thing.
That's why Diaz lost all those fights.
Well, Anyway, we can move on from this one. We've agreed to disagree, I think, and he and I will fight it out later because we're never going to do a show again. It's not just the Panthers and Giants; it is this round that's going to split us apart. So why don't we finish up before we kill ourselves here?
Yeah.
Move on to these rounds. I think are less contentious. I would have to think, right? At least they're less impactful on the way the fights play out. Right? Is more what I guess I mean. Let's start with Trey Ogden's victory over Daniel Zellhuber. He got the unanimous decision victory as a big underdog, 30-27 twice and a 29-28. It was round 2 that we are split on. And why are we split on this round?
I thought this was a very close round. Both guys gave us a lot to score here. Both guys are throwing all strikes to all targets, leg kicks, body punches, headshots at a pretty good pace. I think early Zellhuber is landing the better strikes, a better reaction. The demarcation point for me is the brief stop for the eye poke. After that, Ogden seemed to edge the striking a bit more for me. Seemed he'd landed a little stronger. Then he'd guess the back take at the end, which pretty much solidified it for me at that point. But if you have Zellhuber ahead enough and cage side, you might see it that way. That ending grappling sequence may not be enough to overtake. So no real issue either way. But I'm on 10-9 Ogden.
Yeah, this feels like a round that probably it's where you're sitting in the cage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether you're sitting in Doug Crosby's seat, Junichiro Kamijo's seat, or Chris Lee, it's kind of just a POV kind of thing. And I'm okay with that. This is a very close round. I had it for Ogden just as you did. Judges Crosby and Kamijo saw it the same way. It was Lee was on his own for this one. And yeah, I don't have any issue with it whatsoever. And ultimately, it doesn't matter because Trey Ogden is definitely winning this fight. And again, as a big underdog, so good for him in showing that he's not just a throwaway opponent for this newbie, right? Good on him. We can move on to Loma Lookboonmee. Got the unanimous win, also 30-27 twice and a 29-28 over Denise Gomez, right?
Yep.
Round 3 is, Lookboonmee is already up 2 rounds at this point. It doesn't matter unless Gomes is able to finish this fight, but what's happening in round 3?
Yeah, Gomes knows she needs a finish. She comes out swinging like she needs a finish. She lands like a nice 3-piece combo, backing Lookboonmee against the fence.
3-piece, but no soda.
Then, the soda's coming. She lands a huge spinning back elbow, which then turns into Lookboonmee getting a headlock takedown, which we tend to see in these fights. It's like the woman's takedown.
It's the Ronda Rousey takedown.
Yeah.
We saw it a lot from Ronda Rousey, and I feel like a lot of women watched a lot of Ronda Rousey fights and then just kept it because it's one of those things I think is ultimately going to die out, right? Because it's not that effective. You get your back taken too easily.
So she gets caught in a heel hook after that. It's not that deep, but a decent attack, and then has her back taken, body triangle locked in for like 2.5 minutes. She's landing some punches, attacking some chokes, nothing getting that close. And then she attacks an armbar, I want to say half-heartedly, and probably a bad decision. As Lookboonmee reverses, gets on top, lands some ground and pound. It definitely closes the gap. I don't think it overtakes because Gomes is also landing her own elbows in this position. I don't think Lookboonmee was landing great shots, but, Sal D'Amato's right there, so he knows how impactful these are. My view didn't seem more impactful than what Gomes was returning in the position. Also, the beginning sequence is for Gomes, so I'm on 10-9 Gomes.
And I went the other way, and I'll tell you, I am absolutely not surprised that we were split on this one. I'm just not. As I was like putting my score down, I'm like, man, maybe I'm not giving enough value to the grappling here or not, but I do feel like ultimately the impact from the strikes is what overtook it, and I didn't think some of those sub attempts were necessarily as close as you saw. But
I don't think they were that great.
What's that?
They weren't that great.
Yeah, no, they weren't. And I think probably I just ended up downplaying them to a greater degree that you did, is what it came down to. So, Yeah, I saw this one for Look on Me, and I'm not surprised you went the other way, but I can understand it completely.
All right.
Yeah, we won't be ending the show over this one. We're ending it over the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very just for the record, it was not this round. It was the other round. In the post-mortem of our show, right? Last round here is Trevin Giles. He got, again, a unanimous decision win. A really crummy fight. Just not an entertaining fight over Louis Cosi. 29-28 twice and a 30-27. So this one also was round 3. What happened here?
Well, see, I really don't know why we're talking about this round, but
I know why, because it was split.
Well, yeah, but
okay.
I'm saying, should we really be talking about this round?
Is it worth our time?
It was the bottom of the list for.
Yeah.
I thought it would get higher billing, to be honest, because I don't know if that many people were upset about it, but I really don't see an argument for Giles. Granted, Koshi is holding position when he's on top, but he got a takedown almost immediately, and he was there for a while. Attacks a solid Von Flue choke. Giles able.
That was a good one. You're right.
And he's on top here, but he's just not doing anything. He's just holding on to position. Get back up in the final minute and lands a couple knees to the thighs while holding a body lock. I mean, there's nothing else in this round. Koski didn't do much at all with his position, but he was more. Koshi, terrible tattoos, by the way. Didn't do much at all with his position, but he was more effective because the Von Flue choke is really why.
I think the Von Flue choke almost definitely swayed it for me.
So,
because it's almost like the only thing that really happens in the fight.
Mm-hmm.
In the 5-minute period, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you had it for Cosi, right?
Yep.
I had it for Cosi. I think this is almost a no-brainer, too. I don't think this is the greatest score either from Anthony Manus giving this one to Giles. Did he just think that not enough happened on the ground? Did he not? I mean, I don't want to sit here and insult the man's intelligence with the martial arts or mixed martial arts. I assume he knows a Von Flue choke when he sees one.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the Von Flue is really the only thing that happens. Like, you don't have anything from Giles except for those knees. Is there anything else? Like, is there something I'm missing, or is there something you didn't go over?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think you can win that round with those knees. I think you can win the round with that Von Flue it was almost kind of in there, right?
Yeah.
It was tough for him to get out too. He was like, he's trying to get his arm extricated. He can't. It's trapped. It was actually like pretty good.
Gloves were preventing.
Yeah. So, it was really nice. I actually give a lot of credit to Cosi there. So yeah, I'm surprised at this one. This is not the greatest score from Anthony Manus either. Who unfortunately Anthony Manus often is an out judge. His numbers when you go on the data, and I'll present that later in the year, right? He doesn't quite have 100 rounds in the books for the working UFC fights, as I like to measure before we're talking about judges and how they're doing, right? But he's got a lot of times as the out, like way more in general than most of the other judges. So usually I don't think we're kind of down on the rounds. Like I think they're usually pretty understandable, but this one, I think this is a tough one. I don't really see an argument for it.
All right.
And that is unfortunate, but that is it for contested rounds. We've got our 7 finishes, same as last week. A couple more TKOs than last week. It was 5 KO or TKO. And 2 submissions, both technical decisions, by the way, or technical submissions, excuse me. And then 3 fights ended in round 1. Which of the 7 was your favorite?
Anthony Hernandez, arm triangle. Marc-Andre Barrios. This was just a complete performance from Anthony Hernandez.
And I actually think Barrios is a pretty solid fighter too. So this was I thought this was a really solid feather in his cap for someone who's not fighting necessarily the top 15, right? I think this was a decent win.
Yeah, this was solid. What about you?
Jillian Robertson, man. Coming back off of that, Maria Agapova, she had a fantastic first round, like landing all of these elbows to the head, and I didn't see any point in the first round where Robertson was like, oh man, I think she might get finished. She was just getting beat to heck, right? Her head's just absorbing a lot of impact, and it wasn't good. But if you told me before this fight, like, Scott, you got to bet your house on something, and you got to bet the result, not just the winner, I would have said Jillian Roberts by submission. So I really felt good about that one. I actually thought this was going to happen. She's got just a fantastic ground game. And we started to see in round 2, like when she was able to get down there. And you saw it near the end of round 1. But in round 2, when she got it into her world, it was like, okay, Maria Agapova's in trouble. And she gets the choke in, rear naked. And I guess Agapova's tongue is stuck, right? And she's got no mouthpiece. Is that what it was?
I know.
Was it a Jim Miller situation?
She was biting her tongue, but she also wasn't defending at all. She was pulling the I'm just gonna
and she's like frothing at
chill
the
out.
mouth, and it was a really weird scene, right? And then she goes out.
It was also weird that when she got choked out, she went stiff. Like
Yeah.
her head was still like up. It wasn't like just completely limp.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
kinda weird.
Weird things happen, right?
I mean, that you gotta defend your neck.
There's a little known musical group known as the Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
And they are, well, maybe some people know of it. It's a song called Protect Your Neck.
Yeah.
And she should listen to this one. Someone should
Yeah.
send her maybe the Wu-Tang.
Yeah, listen to Dan Tom. It's Protect Your Neck podcast.
Yes,
There you go.
indeed. Always listen to Dan Tom, friend of our show. Shout out to Dan. But that's it. That's it for UFC. I think we're done. There's no UFC next weekend, sir.
There isn't.
We
Oh,
are
no,
not-
there is this week, though. We got Contender Series Tuesday.
That's not UFC. That's Dana White Contender Series.
Under
it's
the
not
U-
the same.
There's still UFC.
It's not.
It's
Okay.
to get into the UFC.
No.
It's a fun night.
Yeah, that's fine. Is Bo Nickel this week or is he next
Next week.
Okay. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Not gonna watch.
It's a solid opponent. 7-1.
For who? Bo Nickel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a guy with actual decent experience.
Oh, okay. It's not a body this time.
No.
Not a warm body.
No.
Well, that's good. You think he'll be ready for the UFC? He just doesn't look UFC level talent. We got to throw him into like 7 more Contender Series fights before he's actually UFC level, right?
Well, the way they're giving out contracts now, it's like I like all the people who fought on, especially the one kid from Long Island who fought on week 1, should be so upset that
Dennis
he didn't get a
Mizuki?
contract. He should be like beating down the door, like, why am I getting lumped in? I actually had a fun fight, and now you're just handing out contracts like candy.
Yeah. And also this
So-
this past weekend's event had, I think they said 13 Contender Series alums. That
Wow.
was like, that set a record.
Well, Joe Pfeiffer was from this year. He had a good finish too.
B. Joe Pfeiffer, right?
Yep.
And you know what? Amazing for him. Like, I didn't know much about his story, to be perfectly
Yeah.
honest, and you know, to hear that he had some real troubles in his life and was
Mhm.
able to overcome that. That was really nice. Also, Dana White paying for his home, is that what he said, or was he
Did
just
he say
alluding to the fact that
I know he was
earned
home. I know he
money?
was homeless.
Yeah, but
Or he was.
he said he gave him a home.
in between homes.
Okay, maybe I don't know if it was that Dana actually paid for this, so the UFC paid for this, or if it was more of like they gave him
money
the
to
opportunity to
afford
earn the
it,
money
yeah.
to do that. I don't know.
I
but
don't know.
The way it was phrased was like, wait a minute, what? You guys are getting housing? You don't have medical plans. How do you get housing? But I mean, good for him. That was really nice to hear that story. But yeah, at some point we're gonna just have like 26 former Contender Series alumni on it, and it's gonna be like, well, at what point is this just another Contender Series event? These fight nights.
Well, yeah, if they're all fighting each other.
Yeah. I don't know. I just want the fighters to get paid more, and they get paid less when they're on Contender Series. Oh well. But yeah, no UFC proper. There's no UFC
Yeah.
Saturday. There's no UFC Friday even, or Sunday, which we haven't had any of those in a long time, right? There is a Friday Bellator, which I know is not your favorite, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. Sorry. It is it's in Ireland, which means for us over in the United States, it's more like an afternoon, evening event, which is not so bad, right?
I won't be around.
Yeah,
I'll be in Yankee Stadium watching Aaron Judge hit probably like 64th home
maybe
run.
62. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll predict that he's going to hit 62 for you, sir.
I'll be in the stadium 3 times this week. So
Okay. Was this purposeful?
not
or-
purposeful. No, it just worked out that way.
Okay. All
My
right. Good for
tickets,
you.
Tuesday, Friday, and a friend asked me to go Wednesday.
All right.
So I'm like, all right.
No one ever asked me to go to a Yankee game.
Well,
Even my own family went to a Yankee game without me this year. I was like, what the heck? What do I have to do to get invited to a Yankee game?
not be a Marlin fan, I guess.
F you.
All right, tell me
Now,
about Bellator.
We're definitely not going to have
Yeah.
another show. This is the end.
Tell me about Bellator.
It's Peter Queally is headlining against Benson Henderson at 155 pounds. The fans in Ireland love Queally. When he comes out,
He's the zombie guy?
Yeah, he comes out to
Okay.
Zombie. Which I didn't honestly. I actually didn't really know a lot about that song. I didn't realize that it had a lot to do with like IRA bombings and victims and that kind of thing. So it makes a lot of sense now why that is like a big song over there. I didn't understand the backstory behind it. So that was fascinating. But yeah, I think it's a solid fight between Queally and Benson Henderson.
All right.
I think it's worth. I think this is a fight that absolutely is worth watching. I don't.
Well, I guess we
I
got
have to
nothing else
double
to
check.
talk about next week, so we'll break this card down, I suppose.
I mean, we could. I would say probably maybe we could cherry pick rounds if we want, because you're not going to be around anyway. So like, are you going to get mad at me like you tend to do when I say, hey, we should watch this fight from Bellator from our cards?
Not if I don't have to watch UFC rounds either.
Oh, okay.
Like-
All right. I'm making sure.
I just don't like when there's work added to the plate.
Fair enough. Yeah. Who wants to work hard for a show, right? To entertain our. And no, he doesn't like you guys. I like you, the listener. Dan hates you.
This is
Just don't
false.
forget it.
This
Don't
is
forget it.
false.
Like I said, we're never going to have a show again. So everything is hypothetical anyway, right? This is, of course, like I said, it's in Ireland. I expect there will be the UK judges out there, probably, the likes of Ben Cartledge and Mark Collette and those folks, David Leatherby, Paul Sutherland, maybe some mix of that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Howard Hughes. And I think they tend to get, usually there's one or two judges from Ireland proper that tend to work the events there as well. So
Maybe Sheehan will be in the mix.
maybe Sean Sheehan's going to be judging. Yeah. Put him in the chair. Let's see Shawnee in the chair. I want to see how he does. I think he would do pretty well. I really do.
Too.
I think he would do a fantastic job. But that would make it very hard for him to have his show where he gets to talk about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Does make it a little challenging. Another fight to watch. I think the whole main card is pretty reasonably solid. But I mean, Yoel Romero, I can't talk tonight, against Melvin Manhoef. This is at 205, so the cut is not as severe as it might have been when they were fighting at middleweight, right? I mean, the potential for violence is extreme.
When are they going to stop this?
Stop what?
46 and 45. Come on, guys.
You know what?
This isn't Ken. This is Ken Shamrock, Hoist Gracie, Kimbo, Dada 5000. This is that level. This stuff.
Look, if you want to say that about Melvin Manhoef,
knock it
okay,
off.
Melvin Manhoef has not necessarily been at the highest level, right? Let me ask you this. If Yoel Romero is in the UFC right now, what level do you think he's at? Do you think he's top 5? At middleweight?
At middleweight, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're just saying, which is something you like, he's not cutting as much weight.
Who cares?
This is fun.
It's just I don't like these matchups. This is another thing about Bellator.
You are anti-fun.
It's not fun.
I think this could be fun.
Put him a good matchup.
I think this is a good matchup.
All
I think
right.
it's also got potential to be a total staring contest and totally fall on his face. There's like a 30% chance that this is one of the worst fights ever, and then there's like a 70% chance that it's going to really entertain. That's how I feel.
Is Bader fighting anybody?
Brian
Yoel
Bader?
versus Bader would be fun.
Well, maybe if Yoel Romero wins this fight, but like he also just lost to Phil Davis, not in his last fight, but the fight before it. So it was a little bit of a setback. But he's got to win fights to get there, right? When I talked to him last week, he definitely wants to chase championships. So like this is something he wants to do. But
Well, this isn't the step towards it.
I don't think it necessarily matters in Bellator as much. They have rankings and everything, but realistically, like if they want to put that fight together, it's not that hard to put together. Win or two, and he can get there.
Okay.
So man, just tune in for the fight. Like it's Yoel Romero. The potential for a third round finish.
I'll tune in at the third round.
Yeah, don't watch the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Just ignore them. Go to sleep, set your alarm, and once the third round starts, be like, all right, I'm locked in. I know we're going to get the finish. His last 7 finishes have come in the third round.
Yes.
When he finishes a fight, it's the third round. How bizarre is that, though? This goes all the way back like almost 10 years. It's insane how ridiculous he is able to just get that in the third round. And even against Robert Whittaker in that fight that, depending on if we were able to do, let's say, CSJ scoring,
Yeah.
he probably wins that fight. And it's because things started to turn, I want to say, in the third round. He almost was able to get the finish in the third round, if I remember correctly.
All right.
So, but I think it'll be a reasonably entertaining fight. You're not going to watch it live. I'll watch it live. When are you going to take me to a Yankee game? For real. You never invite me.
When do you want to go?
Never invited me.
Well, you're always working, number one.
Tuesday and Wednesdays, I'm off.
Probably next season.
Maybe next season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kick the can down the road. I see how it is. Yeah, we're done. Our friendship's over. The show's over. Hope you guys enjoyed this show, because it's the end.
All right, that does it for this episode, possibly the final episode.
I've already stormed off.
We'll be back again Monday. Break down Bellator.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. Have a good night.